You are watching the video version of the Marketing Should Be Fun podcast. We are so glad that you are here. If you prefer to listen to podcasts, you can find the Marketing Should Be Fun show on any of your favorite podcast platforms, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere else. But most of all, we're so glad you're here, and I hope that you enjoy today's conversation. Well, welcome back to another episode of Marketing Should Be Fun. My name is Austin Savage. I'm here with my friend and business partner, Kelsey Zarko. And Kelsey, it's so good to be back here with you because we've had so many episodes that are not like this. And so it's so fun to be doing this again.
I know. I was like, wait a minute. Do we remember what to do? This is so fun.
It does. I feel like it's okay. We got creative with some episodes and, we got them out. But yeah. I don't know. We always flow back into the rhythm. We figure it out.
Feels like we're home again.
It is.
It's good.
We are home. And honestly, the most important thing, since we've had some different style of episodes recently, is to get back to our this or that, which I hear that you have for us.
I do.
I'm ready. Okay. I'm actually not ready, but I'm ready.
You always get so nervous about them. They're just very easy questions, Austin. It's okay. It's a safe place. Well, we're recording this on November 2nd, which P.S., holiday cups, if you're watching the video version, are back. And so it just feels very holiday and cozy today. All the things. I may already have my Christmas decorations up, but that's another conversation for another time.
Does Starbucks already have the Christmas drinks out?
Yeah,
already?
That's today, when they launch their holiday cups is when their peppermint mocha and stuff comes back.
I only get 2 of those a season because
honestly, same.
Just
they're
usually
so
still
sweet
get black
and
coffee.
Very heavy.
They're so sweet. But I could go for one of those. That feels good.
I feel like the first time they come out, I always have to get one just for the experience of it all. But I was going to say all the Christmas things are happening, but I'm going to stick to Thanksgiving this or that today because when this episode comes out, we'll be just a week or so away from Thanksgiving. So I want to know, mashed potatoes, regular mashed potatoes or sweet potatoes? What's your pick on Thanksgiving?
Great question. Mashed potatoes are a confusing subject for me because my family, I grew up on the boxed mashed potatoes, and I don't even know honestly how you make them. How does it work? You just put water or something? I can't even remember.
I think milk and maybe some butter or something.
Oh, yeah, totally. But I always liked it. But then my wife's family, they make mashed potatoes. So, you peel the potatoes, you chop them up, then you whip them up. And nevertheless, I think I would pick mashed potatoes over sweet potatoes. But I haven't really decided which kind I like better. I think I don't know. They're both good, but we always, my wife and I always joke with each other. We're like, what is real mashed potatoes? What is the best kind?
There's something about the way you eat it as a kid that just makes it feel right to you. I get that.
I know. It's that's what I'm used to. So it's I shouldn't feel chunks, but maybe I should. I don't know.
The authentic version would say yes. I will eat a regular mashed potato any way you serve it. If it's out of a box, if it's a real potato, peeled, not peeled, I don't care. I love mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
I'm fine with sweet potatoes too, especially when you put on the marshmallows and the brown sugar, but I will always go for just a good old traditional mashed potatoes with a whole bunch of butter and gravy. And now I'm excited for Thanksgiving since we're talking about that.
That is super fun. Our Thanksgiving schedule always gets so weird every year because my wife's on call a lot. So it's hard to plan schedules around when we can travel somewhere and when we can't. So it's the life. But I am excited. I'm excited for the meals and the traditions and
hopefully we both get to eat some mashed potatoes this year whenever we do get to celebrate.
At this rate, we're both going to only get to eat sweet potatoes at our
That's probably true.
At our Thanksgiving dinner. So.
Oh, that would be ironic.
Just not going to make them. Well, today on our episode, we just wanted to kind of chat for a little bit, just hang out. Well, Kelsey, the topic that you had kind of introduced was, what do Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and Nate Bargatze all have in common in your brain? And so I will throw it over to you to introduce kind of the subject of community we want to talk about, and then we can dive in.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, we might need to do like a quick backstory on who all these people are in case you don't know, but you probably know who Taylor Swift is, unless you've been living under a rock.
Yeah.
Here's the backstory.
Totally.
So last weekend or 2 weekends ago, my husband and I, we got to go away for just like a quick anniversary like weekend. And one of the things that we had planned was we had gotten tickets to see Nate Bargatze. He is kind of a new up and coming, not new, but he's newly more well known comedian, hilarious. If you need to laugh and you haven't watched, you should check out his Netflix specials. They're so funny. And then a couple days before that show, he was on Instagram and he had this big announcement about how he was going to be hosting Saturday Night Live. And so he had to cancel a few of his shows or reschedule them. It was a whole thing. Thankfully, we were the last show that squeaked through before he had to reschedule. So we didn't have to miss our show. That was great. So that happened. And then at the same time, just like a few days after that, I had gone to see the Taylor Swift movie. She put out like a movie of her concert. So I just kind of had those things rolling in the back of my mind. And then I'm still doing my job during the day of creating content for people. And I always think it's interesting to watch just like how audiences and communities are reacting to people on social media or just like in the media, the news, online. And I just noticed that both during Nate Bargatze's exciting announcement about hosting Saturday Night Live, like tons of people were coming over and like excited for him, cheering him on, watching Saturday Night Live, maybe after never have watching it. And then because he's there, they're coming. I know that was true for me. I shamefully have to admit I had never watched Saturday Night Live before, but I was like, oh, I'm for sure going to show up and watch this because I know him. I've, interacted with him. He's built trust with me. I'm going to show up here. And the same thing with like Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce, the phenomenon of watching the marketing side of like all the Swifties coming over and like being interested in football and how the NFL is even like catering to that with some of their marketing or like TV stations and networks having things on their screen. So all of that's happening. And I'm just thinking about the intricacies of what that means as those people have built their brand over years and years and years of showing up and how you see their people. I think I told you like willing to follow them anywhere. And that's kind of where the conversation started for me of thinking through how we do the same thing with our clients and help them build brands and communities where people trust them so much that they will follow them anywhere. And that doesn't just happen overnight either.
Totally. Did you see, this is the most random thing, but did you see that the NFL's Instagram bio for the longest time was like, I don't think it is anymore, but for when the Chiefs were like 3-0 or something after Taylor Swift first went there, their bio was literally like, Chiefs are 3-0 since becoming Swifties or something. Like that was all it said about them. And I was like, it was, and I know like a lot of like football fans like got annoyed by it.
There's
where they were like,
feelings,
come on. But that was so fun. Like that was funny to see that they really like doubled down on that. And
I love all the
included
memes
it in all that messaging.
Yeah, like they're going around sharing stats of like, here's how many yards he gets on games that she's here versus not here. And I think that it says a lot to the marketing, the people who are in marketing in the NFL and like everyone on that team, that they are seeing the power of using some of that humor and like connecting with her audience because they know there is a brand, like a following there that will do a lot of things for their brand too. And so I thought that was cool to see that they embrace that.
Yeah. So like those people specifically, and I know that you are connected to some of those brands more than others, but like, what do you think it is about, some of those people and really just kind of expanding that overall to even what we've seen, for our clients? Like, what do you feel like is the difference maker in creating those communities that people feel like so connected to?
Yeah, totally. I really think a lot of it is the human aspect of it, like the behind the scenes, like those people. First of all, I think there's a couple of things. First of all, I think it's consistency. Like Taylor Swift literally was making music when I was in college, like 10, 15 years ago. Like she has put in the work and has been consistent, not just on her social media and her, her marketing aspects for certainly, but she has been doing what she does for a very long time and has just stuck with the process and has embraced it. Same thing with Nate Bargatze. He's been a comedian for a long time. You can go back and find clips of him long time ago where he looks way different, but he's doing the same thing. And they just have been there and have embraced the long game. You know, we tell our clients that all the time, like, you have to be ready to like play the long game because there is power there. So I think it's consistency. And then I think it is that people, I feel like I know Taylor Swift and I know Nate Bargatze, even though I have never met them in my life, because they show up for their fans. They are, you know, active on, like, specifically for me, I follow them on social media, but there are so many ways that you can interact with them on different platforms. And they don't just like sing you a song or tell you a joke. They share content that's relatable, and it, you know, you connect to it. And so you think, I get this. This connects with me. I want to show up for this content, because they're not just trying to push something out there. It's connecting with their audience. So I think when an audience feels connected, like we say all the time, you know, content performs on a human level, and you've built that trust with them. So then I will go wherever you're going because I'm invested and I'm connected and I want to go too.
Yeah, it really is fascinating. You and I were just talking the other day about Taylor Swift's marketing. And how she really positions herself as part of her community. Like, she doesn't, in the way that she speaks and kind of carries herself, she isn't like positioning herself as like someone to follow, even though that's the result that she's looking for and is kind of what's happening. Like, it was really interesting in one of the posts that she made about her recent album. I just noticed like she was just using the language of like we, and like she was like, this is something that like we can celebrate together, and that like we can have listening parties for together, or, you know, something. I think she even phrased it of like something that we have earned together. And it was like really fascinating to read that, because I was like, most brands would use like I language of like, or we just referring to them as like the company, not like we language being like us together as a community. I thought, I mean, that just like such an interesting kind of positioning from a brand standpoint of just how effective you can really make people feel like part of that.
Yeah, definitely. I think she, you know, I went and saw her movie, and she even talks like that at her concerts of like, look what we get to do tonight. And like, there is, I think there's probably so much psychology behind that too, but also being, not feeling like you always have to be the one who is the expert, the professional. There is a time for that, for sure, to be the expert and to bring people along and to like, you know, pour into them. But I think, you know, this goes back to what we say over and over again. People get on social media or get on their different platforms because they want to connect with people, because they want connection. And so when you can position your brand, whether that's you as a individual or whether your brand is not a personal brand, but when you can position yourself to be a place where people find connection, especially to another human, I think that's where you see some really cool stuff start to happen.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, it's just such a good reminder that like the value that we have to bring is not just in like what we know or what we have to teach or what we have to share, or even like the products that we have to sell. Like, yes, those are all kind of pieces of the puzzle. And like you just talked about this in the last episode of Marketing Should Be Fun. Like, we have to tell people what we do and what we offer, because, you know, we're all trying to build these brands. But at the same time, like, it's just such a good reminder that like another piece of value that we have to offer is connection, and it's like who we are as people. And I think, you know, as we often talk about how like insecurity is one of the things that will like guard us from, you know, being human and being ourselves in the content that we're creating. But there's just like such a gift when we kind of incorporate who we are into the content that we're creating, not only to ourselves, because I think like it's fun to kind of be known in that way, but it's also just a gift to like the communities that we're building, because people feel seen when they see, you know, a normal day in the life, or people feel like they're, you know, connected to other people who kind of think the same way that they do, as we're able to kind of like build these communities around who we are and what we think, and, you know, some of the things that we can normalize in the human side of our brands as well.
Yeah, that was so good. Just take that whole monologue and just put it on a wall.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Yes, put it on a t-shirt.
Didn't you say that once? I feel like you said that once.
I said once we should get t-shirts of our good friend and business partner, because we always say that when we introduce our show.
Yes.
I totally agree with what you were saying, though. I think when I was thinking through what I hope our listeners would be encouraged in when they hear this episode, it was just that reminder that your personality and your behind the scenes and your real life and just your humanness is a gift and an asset to your brand. And so to not feel like you have to hold that back, but to be encouraged to maybe take a step to show that in a new way that you haven't felt brave enough to, or you haven't felt worthy enough to, or you haven't felt like anybody wanted to see. That I think that's a step I hope that you'll take after hearing this.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's like somebody else that popped in my head is I recently shared an album with you from him, but Noah Kahan is somebody who like, has kind of exploded in popularity recently. A sort of, I guess, folk singer, but anyways, he is just such a fascinating person to watch because like he breaks like all of the rules for like what you're supposed to do like with your brand. Like he's not professional at all. He makes like I don't know, like goofy jokes all of the time, and it's just like really like he's just a fun person, and he just is like really carrying over like who he is to this brand that he's building. And it's so fascinating because like even though it's not professional and even though it's not like buttoned up, like it is so much more effective in getting people to feel connected to him because like lately he's been releasing a ton of like collaborative songs with a bunch of different artists, and like people are so excited, not only because they're like this is so cool and I'm so like excited to listen, but it's also just like how awesome that you are getting this opportunity and that we get to like to be here kind of like witnessing this growth in who you are as a musician and a person. And I think a lot of that stems from like how he has carried himself, like as he has become, more popular. He has stayed true to like the human side of who he is. And there's real power and freedom, I think, in showing that.
Yeah. That's interesting that you say that because I feel like another similarity I'm noticing as we're talking is that all of these people, and we could name, I'm sure, tens of thousands of more, but like all of these people have let their followers in on the journey. Like they've, like we were there when Taylor Swift was singing like her Tim McGraw songs on her guitar. We, we watched Nate Bargatze like come from, his smaller venues and like you can see his clips of old shows. You're saying like them being excited for that singer getting to kind of like grow in his popularity and get those collaborations. And so to not be afraid to let people see that part too, like let them see the journey. You don't have to wait to share, exciting or even behind the scenes content when you've arrived. It can be as you're going, and that builds trust with people to see, we're all on a journey and everybody's working towards a goal. And so when you can take down that curtain and let them see we're all human and we all have places we're trying to get to, I think there's some power built into the trust building process there too.
Yeah. How do you feel like we've seen that with our own clients, Kelsey? Like as we've seen content that like performs better. I know we've shared here on the podcast that like human content always performs better than like non-human content, and by non-human I mean like a graphic typically isn't performing as well as like a picture of somebody or a video from somebody and things like that. But what are some of the ways that you feel like we've tried to incorporate like relatability?
Yeah, the first concept that came to mind when you said that is like one of the easiest ways is just to like share a photo instead of a graphic, like you just said. I was just planning some holiday content for a client who shares a lot of like products that are great like gift ideas for parents and families. And I was looking back at content from last year and just the way that a photo of them holding their products performed versus like a flat lay of their products. And so again, like we always say, there are times and places for all types of content, but that's just a great one that feels really approachable to people when they're first thinking like, what do you mean I have to like share more of a human side of myself? Like take a picture of yourself with whatever you're talking about instead of a graphic. That's a great first step. I feel like we've also seen this sometimes with like funny reels that we'll do where maybe it has like not a ton to do with their actual like product they're selling or their services, but it just kind of is like a silly thing to do with their personality. One of our clients does a lot of hair care, but she also has a husband who's a farmer. And we created some silly content last year during harvest season of like what it's like to be a wife of a farmer. And that just did really well and just kind of shared like a little bit more relatability with that side of her life and her story. And then anytime we can have our clients tell stories too, instead of just teaching a concept, we have a couple of clients who, teach on marriage, and when they will pull up a video and talk through like, this is what we just talked through with one of the couples that we coach, like that is really powerful compared to maybe just like writing out like, here's how to do this X concept. Right. So those are the couple that come to mind. Totally. How about you?
Yeah, I think I love the example too that you gave of the content that we made that's like almost adjacent to a brand. I was thinking of like my own social content recently, and you and I were talking the other day, and like literally I posted something about how my daughter started liking Pokemon cards recently, and by far like that has been like the highest performing content that I've created, which is, I mean, not unexpected necessarily, because it's just kind of it was just like a fun little story, but it's just such a good example of like sometimes it's okay to like to create brand adjacent content, like even with like if you have a podcast or if you're creating a blog, like sometimes it's okay to create things that are like more fun, or to create things that like just tell a story of people who are on your team, or tell a story of something that's like more about your culture than it is about like what you're selling. I know for some of our clients, like around this time of year, sometimes even though it's not directly related to their brand, we'll share like recipes to their email list, or we'll share like different fun like gift ideas to their blog. And like each of those things, in some circumstances it supports the brand itself, but sometimes it's just a fun way to just be like, hey, this is something special to me that I want to share with you, or this is something that I get excited about around this time of year, or about this topic, and I want to just bring you into that. And it just deepens that connection where now you're continuing to make it more and more likely that people are building that trust with you, which makes the times that you talk about your brand more compelling, because people care about you, not just the product that you're selling, which is, I mean, the point of it all at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think I hope that you, if you're listening, feel the freedom to kind of like loosen up those lanes a little bit sometimes, and not feel like you have to be stuck in a box or in a lane. Those lanes are helpful and they're a great guideline, but you can step out of those sometimes and build some really cool connection with people when you do that.
So I think kind of the key idea, you shared this earlier in the episode essentially, but I think, just remembering that one of the best ways to build a community, if you're looking to build a community, is to create relatable content, is to, not be afraid, or to move towards being less afraid of sharing content that, really brings people into who you are, or who, the true kind of brand behind the product is, depending on the brand that you're building. There's real power in just being relatable, and in how people can connect to that easier, which I think will open up a lot of cool doors for you down the road if you lean into that.
All right. Well, we hope this episode of all of the pop culture and all of the sports and all of the entertainment is an encouragement
so much pop
to you.
Culture.
So much pop culture.
So much. We mentioned
and I hope that if you
Taylor Swift.
haven't listened to those people that we gave you, if nothing less, new people to go check out this week. But we hope that you are just encouraged to continue in your consistency and your relatability, and just not being afraid to color outside the lines a little bit and be a real human, because you're showing up on these platforms to other real humans who want to connect with you.
I love it. All right. Well, we will see you right back here next time.